I wanted to give you an update on the storm. We did make some changes with the briefing package that you should have in your email an hour ago. Two main our briefing earlier this morning. We were concerned with two areas in our forecast area where we may end up with lower amounts than we expected and then perhaps higher amounts. So I want to focus on the reasoning behind that and where we're still having some questions going forward with the forecast itself. This is the current radar. They are seeing snowfall up toward Raleigh-Durham. In fact, if you see the darker shading of green, Chapel Hill, Durham, we've been watching some of the pictures on social media. Their temperatures are 30 to 32, and they're reporting half-mile visibility just to our west. Reason why I'm showing you this is there's nothing going on in our area now, and if you look really carefully at the eastern edge of this precipitation, it's in no hurry to get here. So we're 11 o'clock now, and it's going to take many hours before we see any precipitation. At the onset, it'll be rain. It will still change over to snow as we head through the evening, but that was one major change, was to delay the onset of precipitation, especially in the form of snow, until later today and especially tonight. Reason for that, the precipitation is going to be slow getting in here, but also our temperatures are very warm. Up toward Raleigh-Durham now, they're around the freezing mark. But if you've stepped outside, it's not a bad day. Temperatures in the mid to upper 40s, 48 last hour in Kinston, 46 in Greenville, and low 50s down toward Onslow County. So we do not anticipate many problems this afternoon because we are so warm now. And again, the precipitation is going to be a little bit slower. Wanted to jump out of the briefing itself to highlight that because I think that's the biggest change that we've made with the forecast since earlier this morning and certainly since yesterday. You should have this briefing in your email inbox so you can kind of follow along. Not a lot of change to the impacts. 1 to 4 inches of snow across the coastal plain. Thinking an inch, maybe too far inland, but now we're thinking the highest amounts will be near the coast and probably along the outer banks. Snow-covered roads and reduced visibilities, especially tonight. I'll show you on the snowfall map that we really think things get going tonight. It's going to be a quick hitter. It's going to come in and end very abruptly, but we could have a period of some heavier snow, especially tonight. Limited icing impacts. We're not anticipating sleet or freezing rain per se, but with temperatures dropping down toward 20 degrees tonight, we're thinking that anything wet will certainly freeze up. And with that in mind, temperatures will probably not get above freezing until 11 or 12 tomorrow morning. So kind of keep that in mind. Whatever we see tonight, we'll stick around through at least the first part of tomorrow. Windy conditions, especially toward the coast. So we could have some brief whiteout conditions, scattered power outages, especially along the outer banks. Very, very brief window, but when that snow comes down, it's going to be coming down hard and the wind will be blowing. Summary of greatest impacts. Biggest impacts from this will be hazardous travel due to the snow, and again, especially tonight, with temperatures so warm during the day, it's going to be hard to get anything sticking to the roads until we get those temperatures below freezing. This is the thing that probably has changed the most if you've watched this over the last 24 hours with the briefing yesterday afternoon and again this morning. Inland areas 3 to 7 o'clock. You may have a few snowflakes mixing in, but we try to time this with temperatures falling to near or below freezing. So between 3 and 7 o'clock, Greenville, Kinston, accumulating snowfall. We do not have any temperatures in our area below 32 until about 4 o'clock today. So again, pushing things back later. That middle zone near Jacksonville, just east of Washington, just to the west of New Bern, 6 to 9 o'clock. And if you're viewing us, along the Crystal Coast, Onslow County, down through Cape Carteret, Morehead City, and the Outer Banks, it's going to be late. Just wait for it. It's going to come in pretty quickly this evening, perhaps not until 9 or 10 o'clock tonight through midnight, that changeover to accumulating snow. So again, things have slowed down with the arrival of the precipitation and the colder air and the snow. Winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings remain in effect. We haven't changed this. If you've noticed anything, we tweaked the timing, the front end of it, so they start a little bit later this afternoon. Other than that, they remain in the same area. One thing to highlight, and we'll do that on the precipitation map, but a little bit uncertain, Washington, Belhaven, Plymouth, that western part of the warning getting to criteria. That's where some uncertainty creeps in. But the higher amounts will probably be toward the coast and the Outer Banks, so especially east of Route 17. This is our latest snowfall map. A few tweaks to this morning. One of the forecasters that is making the changes now is with me now. We continue to look at new model data. A lot of the computer models are in by this time, so we wanted to make an adjustment for the schools and people trying to make plans for later today and tonight. Generally speaking, still 1 to 2 for most of the area. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is this black area that we outlined specifically where we think things could go wrong. What we have is an area of precip moving in. We showed you on the radar precipitation in Raleigh area now. That's going to slowly inch our way. At the same time, a new storm is going to form all along the coast and off the coast and throw moisture back toward the coast. In the middle, during this transition, we may have a lull or we may not have a lot going on at all. So we're forecasting 1 inch, maybe 2 in some of those areas. We may be on the lower end of that scale, especially if you're in that black area that we drew very carefully. And the reason for that, again, is it's really a 2-part storm. We have one coming in from the west. As it comes toward us, it's going to weaken, maybe break up a little bit. And then the second part of the storm is tonight forming off the coast, and that's going to throw moisture back toward the coast. We'll be in the squeeze play in the middle, so that area that we highlighted, we may end up on the lower end of our forecast. So kind of keep that in mind. Now, on the flip side of things, the trend has been higher with snowfall amounts toward the coast, and it's going to be really close. We're thinking 8 or 9 o'clock tonight. The precipitation really explodes as that coastal storm gets going, and we'll see some heavier precipitation, rain changing to snow, and snowfall rates could be intense, 1 inch or more per hour, very briefly. Again, Morehead City, Havelock, Bayboro eastward, and then it'll lift and end very fast. And that's why we think there's some uncertainty toward the coast for higher totals. So right now we have generally 2 to 3. There could be a few isolated 4-inch amounts, especially toward like Ocracoke Island and the Outer Banks. So we're continuing to emphasize this. I know we don't get snow a lot here in North Carolina. This is not like the last event where we were pretty darn confident of what was going to happen. This is a little more uncertain, especially those inland areas, exactly when that transition happens, and then the coastal areas, how much moisture gets thrown back toward the coastline. One thing, I put this graphic in here on purpose. Whatever happens, whatever we have on the ground by midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, that's going to stick around a little while. Our low temperatures tonight into tomorrow morning, teens to middle 20s along the coast. And we're not forecasting to get above freezing Thursday until about 11 or 12. One thing that will help us tomorrow, we're going to have full sunshine, and we will get up to 40 by afternoon. But again, the morning may be a process. It won't be a repeat of the storm that we had 2 weeks ago, in that we're forecasting a high tomorrow of 40 with sunshine. So that will get things melting, and we're into the 50s on Friday. So this is not days that will linger, and we're not talking the amounts that we had. We're not talking lows in the single digits and stuff like that. So this will melt quicker, but just keep in mind it's going to be pretty cold first thing Thursday morning, so it will probably linger first thing on that day itself. So to summarize, moderate that these significant impacts will occur, and again, that's because of that uncertainty inland and also by the coast. 1 to 4 inches of snow, the highest amounts down toward the coast, so down east, Carteret County, north and east through the Outer Banks. Hazardous travel, especially early tonight. When we change over to snow, it could be a rapid transition to some briefly heavy snow. Again, 8, 9 o'clock through about 2 in the morning. And then some strong winds and rough seas over the waters. Real quickly before I open up the lines to everybody, we'll have another briefing by 5 o'clock. Hopefully not a lot of changes, because the forecaster that just worked on it, we looked at some of the latest guidance. So we'll make some tweaks here and there. But again, kind of keep an eye on that snowfall map for some lower amounts inland, and again, isolated higher amounts along the coast.